back. It is Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and take a look at some different Batman figures and the way to upgrade them quickly and easily. Because as we know with McFarlane, although it can be great sometimes, it can get a little bit frustrating. The choices, the designs, the execution. And although we know every action figure line is not going to be perfect, I think in the end, it is mostly what you make of it, what you enjoy out of each figure, and ultimately decide how to spend your money. Now, we know the big running joke that McFarlane only makes Batman. Of course, we know there's tons of characters you can choose from, obscure characters, main characters, B-list characters, and even Z-list characters. But today we're going to take a look at some Batman figures that I recently opened up. Now, I'm not going to review them. We'll just take a quick look at them and how I easily upgraded them just to make them more fun in hand and give them that little bit of added spice just to make more appealing and pleasing to the eye. Now, the Batmans we are going to talk about are mainly from that original Year 2 Batman and Hush Batman body mold. Now, I do remember when McFarlane had that battle of the Batmans, and ultimately, Batman Hush won that battle, which I'm a big fan of that figure. That is still probably my top one, two, three Batman figures from McFarlane. As you can see here, great figure. Once you do some mods and some customizing, becomes an even more enjoyable figure to pose and have some fun with. Now, I do also know that there's big fans of the Nightfall Batman body, which to me it's pretty cool, especially when it's used to make different alternate versions of Batman. I just prefer the bulkier, hulking style of the Hush Batman body mold. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Up first is going to be the first appearance Batman, but this is the platinum version. Now, the reason we're taking a look at this is because although I've had this for almost a year, I never opened it. I love that first appearance Batman. I have multiples of him. I customized one I kept in its original release form. But this is just a cool figure. Once you get it in hand, I just could not put this figure down. He is awesome to pose. Now, as I said before, you can mod and add your own accents to make these figures even better. Now, the main thing I did to him, as well as you could do to all of these Batman figures, even to most McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, is I did my waist and abdominal mods that you could find on my Superman mod video. Go look that one up. It'll show you a lot of the mods you could do to add more range and articulation to these figures. And as you can see, he has some pretty wide range at the waist from side to side. The tilt-a-whirl, twist them, get him in cool poses. And he has some added front crunch. I wanted to get it where the upper abs can almost hit the top of that belt. I got it pretty close. I mean, if I push it, you could get it all the way, but this just adds an added range and fun to posing and taking pictures with the figure. So that's just an upgrade you can do if you want to. And as I said, this works on most McFarlane DC Multiverse, as well as the shoulder and thigh mods you can do. Now, the one accent I added to this was, you know how he has the stripe, which is like cell shading of the blue, which I thought I would hate, but I really enjoy. It just gives the figure a little bit more panache. But they did not paint the little stripe on the ankle ball joint. So I went ahead and added that. Now, what I do is I take out the ball joint, I heat it up with the heat gun, and then I put the little paint stripe and just let it dry. For some reason, the heat kind of grabs onto the paint a little bit better. I mean, in my experience, And then afterwards you can decide to seal it with some matte sealer if you would like, but you could see how I could move the ankle and the paint won't really come off. So you could still retain articulation. I did it to both ankles. And now it's just a more finished look to the figure, as well as with the waist modifications, making him a lot more fun to pose and do figure photography. Now, one big negative I have about this figure is the head design. Now, I get it. The reason McFarlane does these neck plugs is it kind of thickens the neck and allows the neck to go into the cowl and not really lose any thickness to it. Because once you cut it and you want the head to be able to be articulated, you kind of lose a little bit of that thickness and you'll have a cut right below the jawline. So I get the desired look that they're going for. I just think the loss of the articulation is not worth it because it's really stiff to move that neck plug. You could pretty much only move him down, like looking down. It's hard to make him look up. Now, the second figure we're going to look at here is the Batman 1 million. And at first, when I opened this, I mean, I had it for months and I never opened it. I thought, another Batman, not going to be very exciting. But surprisingly, once again, could not put this figure down. Very fun to pose, especially with the wired cape. Very cool look and some metallic blue paint on it, as well as having full articulation at the head, so you could get a lot of range from him. Now, one thing I did not like about this release is they gave him the gloved hands. I'm pretty sure they're from the Hush Batman or for the Batman or from the original Batman Year 2, but they have that molding and sculpt on it where this character doesn't have all that added design. It's just a smooth glove look. And sadly, they did not go with those fists. Now, what fists am I talking about? If you have the first appearance Batman like this one, you can see I pose him with the double fist. And those fists do not have any kind of added sculpture or design, so they match very well. Now, luckily, I did buy multiples of that one. So I had two of those fists, extra laying around. Hit them with a matte black, let them dry. They fit exactly on the pegs for this Batman, and that just makes a big difference. As everybody knows, I'm all about the details, and when I try and pose him, and when he has that added sculpt on the gloves, it's just something off about it. But once you switch the hands and you give him these smooth fists, it just really takes him to another level. As well as you could do all the mods, as I said, to give him more range and added articulation. Now, even the hand that they gave him to hold the Batarang that he comes with, it also had the molded sculpt. So if you want to match it up, you're going to have to find the right size gripping hand that fits this wrist peg. I'm sure there's one out there, and just paint it black. That way you can match it up with this Batman and make the full transformation complete. And it's just the little added details, the little intricate things that I really pay attention to. And if they would have gave him the right alternate hands, it would have just made this figure a lot more enjoyable. As well as he's pretty stiff. When you do the waist mods and all that, it really opens up the possibilities of display and figure photography. Now, the next one we're going to take a look at is the next Year 2 Batman from the collector's edition. Now, I really was looking forward to opening this one up, although he does have the solid plastic cape, which I know why McFarlane went with this. He was trying to recreate the cover art and give it its design, which it does work well, but it's very hard to stand this one because of the weight of that cape. So I found out that it's kind of easier to get him in a little action pose, like crouched down, and he just stands a lot better. Then if you try and stand him straight up, he just will not stand. But a little crouch in there at the waist, and it does work. Now, of course, once again, you can add all the mods to give him more range. There's a lot of things I really love about this figure. The fully working holster, which is something awesome to see from McFarlane, and something very interesting, and that is that this figure has that neck plug, but it also has the articulated head on the neck, which means this is like the ultimate articulation because you can move that neck plug back and forward, and at the same time, you can move the head separately, giving them ultimate articulation without any modding, which you could add some modding, but I mean, this one works really well. And this makes me wish that McFarlane would go more with this design than with the full neck plug or even just a single joint at the top of the neck. This really adds a lot of articulation at the head. Now, the cell shading on this one works fine. And something else that works fine that didn't bother me was, of course, they gave him the gloves with the added, sculpt and design, the padding. But for some reason, it kind of works with this figure. It doesn't, take anything away from it. It kind of adds because in this version, he is using handguns, so he might want that extra padding on his gloves. Didn't mind that the ankle joints don't have the blue paint for some reason. It just, on this figure, it doesn't really bother me. And if you were to add it on the ankle joints, the paint, it would just take a smear of some bright blue and you'd be ready to go, giving you a continuous paint line from the top of the boot down into the bottom of the boot. Now, what was the thing that I changed on this figure? And once again, with McFarlane, it's the simple little things that just make you, think of what's going on. And that is that at the gauntlet, they did not paint one of the pegs. So both of the pegs are gray while the glove is black. You have that, gray peg staring at you. And it's just something that really irks me. So my OCD kicked in. One of the first things I did was get some satin black and just drip it inside there. Now, the good thing about this is that when you do that, there's no rubbing there. So once it dries, you can, articulate the forearm and the paint's never really going to come off because it's not touching any other part. And it just gives it a finished look that it didn't have with having that gray peg just sticking out at you. It gives it a full black look, which really works, really makes it look complete. Great figure. You could have changed some things, like used a wired cape, and you would still get some articulation in the cape and make it look like the covers. But I'm fine with this figure. It is very fun once you add the mods and once we hopefully get the villain from that series, which was the Reaper or whatever. Gonna be very fun with some figure photography. Now, finally, we're gonna look at the. Still having a hard time saying what this is, like a Troika Batman or something like that. And once again, using that same body, but this one does have a little bit of distinction. Now, although you do have the neck plug once again, so he can look down very well, but it's really hard to get any more articulation out of it. I love the creepy look of the all black and the super long ears. Down at the bottom at the calves, you got these new spikes that we never seen before on these boots, which was pretty awesome. I love the kind of satin black that this one is. Really gives it a more gritty look, and in certain light makes it look really spooky. Now, what was my gripe with this Batman? Of course, they gave him the same hands once again with that added mold on the gloves where you can tell this version of Batman really wouldn't go with that. Now, something very interesting, I started looking through my extra hands. What could I add? And I came across these Batman Beyond claw hands. Now, I said I really like the spooky aura that this Batman gives. And once you give him those claw hands, it just takes him to another level, adds a little bit more flavor to him, and allows you to get him in some spooky poses. So I did use him a little bit during Halloween. It was pretty fun. And once again, it's the little details in each one of these that just makes me happy to have them in the collection, makes them very fun to pose and do figure photography with, which has come to be like a main thing with McFarlane is that pretty much never going to be perfect, but you can always add your own touches and details to make your collection something very enjoyable and have a lot of fun with. So, anyways, guys, quick look at these Batman, quick little upgrades that you can do to have more fun with these figures. I'm definitely going to keep enjoying these. And I know a lot of people get really tired of the Batman, but sadly, these sell. And sorry to confess this, but they are some of the most enjoyable figures in my collection are the Batman figures. So, anyways, you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.